Dawson Rider Review. Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with a review of Wave 1 of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Legacy figures. So these figures are in the Legacy line that includes Morphers and Megazords, but they are essentially the same scale and mold as the regular 5-inch figures. We'll go ahead and take a look at them. I'm actually going to go over the boxes first, just because they each do have a bit of individuality to them, excuse me. As you can see, they are based off of the original triangular packaging from the 8-inch Mighty Morphin figures, which is definitely neat. But given the scale of these figures, I thought the packaging they used for the flip head figures would have been more appropriate. Like I said, it's definitely neat, but I would have saved this for maybe a larger scale figure. Like I said, I'll just keep saying like I said, but I would have preferred the flippable packaging for this scale. But it's still cool. Obviously, it's significantly smaller than the 8-inch ones, but you got the logo up there, lightning bolts on the side, that's where the figure was, individualized names on the front, says Jason Red Ranger, you got the 5 Rangers there. This is pretty much all the same on every one except for the name thing. The individuality of it comes on the back where each Ranger gets a profile. At the top here you do have the typical story. I'll just read the first one, which is all the same on all of them. 5 ordinary teenagers have been chosen to save the world from Rita Repulsa and her evil space aliens. Using special power morphers, the teens call on the spirits of the ancient dinosaurs to transform into the incredible Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and summon their mighty Power Zords. When all else fails, the Power Zords join together to form high-tech Megazords. Will they be strong enough to save us from Rita's destruction? No, they're going to have to get Thunder Zords and Ninja Powers later. They forget to mention that in every single one. But as you can see, I didn't know they were going to split this up, but I guess it makes sense given the price point of these guys. But they are releasing, this is the first wave, included Green Ranger, White Ranger, Lord Zedd, and Red Armored Ranger, and I'm going to presume the next wave will be everyone else, which is black, blue, yellow, and pink. I don't know how long it'll be before the second wave hits, so I decided to review them separately. All of the weapons here combined for the core 5, and then here we have a little individual profile for Jason. You got a picture of him here. It says his team name, his name, weapon name, Zord name, and then you get a little brief bio on him. It says Gene Age? I have no idea where that. I merged the words. Jason was a teenage black belt and martial arts prodigy before becoming a ranger. He is a man of few words and prefers to let his hands and feet do the talking. They forget to mention that his hair never moved once. Now I'll just quickly zoom through these. The only individuality here, it says Tommy the Green Ranger. At the top here it says as seen in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, because this is the version that was seen in it. I will get to that when we go over him. On the back you have his little profile. Yet again, it shows you all of his little stats. On the back it says Tommy was originally given the powers of the Green Ranger by evil alien sorceress Rita Repulsa. I read that really weird, sorry. The Power Rangers team saved him from the life of servitude to the evil Empress and quickly became the most powerful of the Rangers. No, he didn't. He was always falling over like a sickly old man. Alright, now, second Tommy box, Tommy White Ranger. On the back here, another shot of him. Here's his little stats. Now here it says, Tommy sacrificed his Mighty Morphin Green Ranger powers to keep them out of the greedy hands of Rita Repulsa. Through his courage, strength, and honor, Zordon granted Tommy the powers of the legendary White Ranger. Cool, cool. And then we have Lord Zedd, which is really funny because, well, it says Lord Zedd here, but did he ever get a release like this? I don't know, but they got the backstory from Rita Repulsa on top of here, and then you got Lord Zedd, who has no stats because he's part of no Ranger team, but just says, after banishing Rita Repulsa to her space dumpster, Lord Zedd uses his powerful magic and superior strength in a quest to rid the world of the Power Rangers. So I just decided to show that off since it's neat that they have individualized packaging, and the packaging is cool. Alright, so now we will go ahead and take a look at them and just do a little individual look at all of them. Alright, so we will kick things off with the Armored Red Ranger figure. Now I'll show a comparison here in a minute, but this is essentially the same exact figure as you get in the regular line, with a bit more paint that mainly comes from his golden armor. Now the golden armor does look nice, and this was always a nice mold. I thought the head sculpt was nicely done on it, and the dragon shield does look nice and shiny and cool. You can see there on his belt he does have a little bit of Tyrannosaurus details for the coin. It's pretty basic, but it's still there. And he is an overall very decent looking figure. I think it's kind of strange that they decided to have him be armored and all the other ones be regular. I know it does give you a bit of a different choice than the standard Red Ranger figure, but still, it just seems a bit overkill with the armored figures. But overall, it is a nice looking figure. The articulation on these guys remains pretty much the same on all of them. You have a nice hinge joint right here. You do get a solid range of motion. Unfortunately, on these armored ones, it is hindered by up here. You have a single elbow joint here. You do get swiveling. You get a hinge joint here, which gives you a great range of motion. Swiveling at the foot. No swiveling at the waist. You can move the head around 360, although it is a bit hindered with the armor. But overall, solidly articulated. And essentially, like I said, the same thing as you would get with the other figure, which which I will show in a moment. Before we do that, another thing that is supposedly making these figures worth their $20 price tag is the weapons, which are nicely painted, I have to admit. It's not anywhere near like the Figuarts level of accuracy, but still nice to see painted weapons. I cannot find the one that came with the regular version, but it is all red. Just red plastic, and this one is at least very nicely painted. As you can see here, it looks like they tried to give the Tyrannosaurus coin, and maybe it's just mine. I can sort of make out what it's supposed to look like, but I really can't see it. Then you do get the little blaster here, which has a peg on it to go on the side. But it actually goes on the right side this time. You can see there's actually a peg there. On the regular version of the Red Ranger figure, they had it all messed up, so it would go on this side like this. But it also is nicely painted right there, and then because he is the Armored Ranger, you do get a Dragon Dagger, which is also fairly nicely painted. It actually looks nicer than the prop they had in the show, you know, for our footage. Alright, but here he is right next to the regular Red Ranger figure. As you can see, with the exception of the gold armor, they are the same figure. So I guess the gold armor is a good way to get you to want to buy two of them so you have a different figure, but it just seems very odd considering these are supposed to represent the original figures, and then you have the Red Ranger not coming regular. That sounded weird. But yeah, you can see they're pretty much the same exact figure, base mold-wise. Alright, so now let's go ahead and move on to green. And here we have the Green Ranger figure, who is arguably the most controversial of this set. Let's go ahead and take a spin look at him. His articulation is the exact same as Red Ranger, so I will not bother going over it. But as you can see, he is different than the regular Green Ranger. He has silver stripes on his head, and his morpher is silver instead of gold. This was a version that appeared in the Fighting Spirit episode of Dino Thunder, and was to appear in the Legend War, but apparently they have fixed it now. To be honest, I actually really like this. This form causes quite a bit of controversy amongst the fandom, which is kind of crazy considering what a minor thing it actually is. And there's people that are absolutely flip out over the silver stripe, and there are other people that like it. Personally, I really like it. I think it looks cool, and I think in particular for the Legend War, I thought it gave sort of a Legendary Ranger look to the Green Ranger armor, almost as if a version that adult Tommy would wear. And I saw it as like an evolution of a superhero costume. Many superheroes have different versions of their costume, and this is what I saw it as, is that adult Tommy donning the Green Ranger powers yet again, and they are now different, evolving into this new state, and I think it looked really cool, but ultimately it's really silly for people to get upset over it. I'm thankful to have a figure to represent it, whether it's from Fighting Spirit or what the Legend War was supposed to be. Overall though, with the exception of the paint, it is the same exact figure as the regular Green Ranger. But, well, I guess the gold armor is shinier on it. But overall, it is a solid figure just like the regular Green Ranger. You just have the silver paint. Now, even though I am extremely happy to actually have a silver striped Green Ranger figure, I think they should have included this version in the regular waves of figures and done the regular version for the Legacy line, since this is supposed to be a nostalgic line that is representing the older series. It would have made more sense than to have a Green Ranger version that appeared in Dino Thunder and then Super Mega Force in the old Mighty Morphin packaging. But so I think they just should have flipped it around, but either way, I'm happy we got a regular Green Ranger figure. He also does come with the Dragon Dagger, which is identical to the one that comes with Red. Here is a quick look with two Green Ranger figures. Here he is next to the regular Green Ranger. You can see the core difference, obviously, aside from the silver paint, is that the shield is much shinier and better done. Like I mentioned before, I think they should have swapped these releases, have this version come with the line that's supposed to represent the older toys, and then this one in the regular wave. But still, it's a nice variant to get. And even if you're not necessarily a huge fan of this, if you're a completionist, it's just nice to have the variant. And then also, as I showed this in the review of the regular 5-inch, but here it is next to the Super Legends Green Ranger figure back from the Jungle Fury line, which is still my personal favorite Green Ranger figure. But yeah, overall, very neat. Now let's move on to white. Alright, now we have Tommy's next form, the White Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Now this figure is going to get a version in the regular Super Mega Force line. I can't remember if it's Wave 5 or 6, but it is coming soon, so I do not have that version yet to compare to, but I will compare this version to it in the review. But overall, since I have nothing to compare it to modernly, this is a very nice figure. The paint looks really nice on it. The articulation remains the same as the others. I really don't have too many problems with it. He overall looks very nice. The golden armor is a bit shinier on him. His helmet does look a smidge strange to me, but other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to say other than I think that he is a very solid looking figure. Very cool. And since I don't have a White Ranger figure, it's kind of a nice figure to get right now. But overall, very nice. He does come with one accessory, which is Saba, which is also fairly nicely painted. You got the silver, gold, and white here. Saba's head is not painted, but I guess I really didn't expect it to. It would have been nice, but overall it's still nice to have a painted version. I do not have the other version, like I said, from this line, but I do have the Super Legends version, just to take a quick peek at it next to it. Oops, I did not mean to do that. This is the Super Legends White Ranger figure, which is also, yet again, one of my personal favorite figures, and I overall prefer it. Even though some of the colors are a smidge more accurate, I think the helmet looks better on this one, but this is overall still a decent figure. All of these are decent figures, they just don't happen to be worth their price point, in my opinion. Alright, now let's get away from good and move on to the evil Lord Zedd. Alright, here we have the Lord Zedd figure, our second Lord Zedd figure of this roughly scale. I do have the Super Legends one to compare it to in a minute. Let's turn him this way so we get him towards us sooner on the spin. He does share the same articulation as all the others. One thing of note, though, is my Lord Zedd does have loose joints. Other than that, he's a pretty decent looking figure. He's got all the paint in the right places. He even got the back paint on him detailed, which I guess is apparently the price of premium pay. But overall, very solid looking. The details on him look good. He wobbles, but he doesn't fall down. Really don't have too many problems with him aside from the loose joints, which is a disappointment when you're paying $20 for a figure. But otherwise, he does look good, and I would say, well, I'll bring it in a minute, that his head sculpt is a little bit more accurate to the show than the other one. He does come with one weapon, which is his staff right here, which looks pretty good. You got the Z there and then a little spike down here. But the main problem with it is it's too short. Let me go ahead and put it in his hand. And it looks good, but it definitely seems too short. Maybe it's just me and I'm remembering it being longer, but here is the Super Legends version, which comes with a longer one, which maybe is too long. But I just kind of think it looks better when it's a bit longer. That's what she said. But yeah, these are the two figures next to each other, and I have to say, even though this one's a bit larger, the back isn't painted, and I think that the proportions on Lord Zedd's head sculpt look better, and he just overall is a better looking figure despite being smaller. So I'll have to say this is one of the only cases where I actually prefer the new one to the Super Legends. So if you're looking for a Zedd figure, I could recommend picking this one up over this one. Alright, so now let's go ahead and move on to a final verdict. Alright, so that about wraps it up. Overall, these are all very solid figures. The mold in general they use for these are solid, and they certainly are all good-looking figures. But the price point is definitely too high, especially with some of these in this wave, as they're just so close to figures you can get for a much cheaper price. And there certainly is neat, unique things about it, such as him being armored and getting the special version from the Dino Thunder episode and what was to be the Legend War. And I do really like that a lot because I'm a fan of the Silver Stripe. But overall, I cannot recommend these at full price. For 20 bucks, it's just not worth it for a little bit more paint for a figure you can get for cheaper in general. If you have a favorite Ranger or character, I can maybe recommend picking one or two up if you want them. But otherwise, I would wait for some sort of sale or something, because as they are now, they're definitely too high priced, and I think they're definitely taking advantage of the nostalgia factor with this. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure you check out the Crazy Podcast at writersrangersrambles.com. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, it's Dawson Ryder, signing out.